Welcome back to the Big Sunday Show. Is there a double standard between how people treat athletes and our elected leaders? Phil Mickelson is among the golfers who left the PGA Tour to play on the LIV Tour and got a lot of criticism because Saudi Arabia finances LIV. Tonight, on Life, Liberty, and Levin, Stephen A. Smith calls out the political double standard in sports. Here's a preview.
It's far easier to hold somebody like Phil Mickelson, Gary Player, or other folks accountable. But our government does business with these people. If you're so abhorred and you find it so reprehensible to do business with these countries as individuals, then why are we not holding our government to the same level of accountability? Politicians who are supposed to be prioritizing all of these things, who legislate our lives and govern our lives, oh, they get to do business with these folks? There's something hypocritical about that.
I have to say, I think the hypocrisy is overstated as he describes it, in the sense that I think there's like a category error here. Governments have to deal with each other in the world. And I don't think it makes sense to equate governments with how people deal with these regimes. Mm-hmm. Now, I think it's a totally fair criticism that our government has made terrible decisions, embracing Russia at one point, embracing China. Our economies completely intermingled with China because of policy decisions that got made. I think that's fair criticism. But athletes, just like everybody else, if they're going to speak publicly, they should be educated about what they're speaking about. Am I wrong about that?
Well, I mean, we need to see this interview to see where Stephen A. Smith was going with that. He's known as a firebrand. Sometimes he says the thing you least expect him to, and that's why he's so good at his job. So I give him that. So maybe that's where he was going there. I think it's funny he only used Phil Mickelson as an example. I didn't hear LeBron James' name come up. I didn't hear him say a word about Enes Kanter Freedom and some of the things he's gone through. I think that there is absolutely a somewhat of a double standard in sports because so much of the media that covers sports is specifically left-leaning, and so much of sports is a part of pop culture, which is incredibly left-leaning. If you have a president that makes a deal with Saudi Arabia, whatever party they are, you can guarantee the other half of the country is already criticizing them because they're already attached to that party. So I don't think there's any kind of parallel there, but I agree with him in the sense of if you're a viewer sitting at home and you're not saying anything or you're not upset with some of the things you see on the headlines at Fox News or CNN, but you're really mad at Phil Mickelson, then maybe you need to have a broader view of how the world works and understand that that there are things like this happening all over. I think that ultimately, sports does not get to rid itself of politics. I know
Katie, isn't it fair to say that right now the biggest controversy that we have in politics that an individual politician has to deal with is the Biden family dealing with China, which is very different from the United States dealing with China?
Yeah, and I think there are differences in individual athletes as well. The difference I see with Phil Mickelson, for example, playing for LIV, is that while he's playing for that league, which is Saudi-funded, he's not advocating for the tearing down of the United States of America, unlike LeBron James, who plays in the NBA and is happy to take money from Chinese markets while he accuses the United States of being irredeemably racist. So I have no problem with athletes engaging with foreign countries as long as it's, okay legally. But I do have a problem when athletes take advantage of the opportunity they have in America while going overseas or on American soil, tearing down the very country that gives them the freedom to make millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in their field.
Right. Well, Stephen A. says that athletes should be able to take a stand on a political issue, but they need to know. Here's one. They need to know what they're talking about. Let's hear.
Particularly with today's modern day athlete, the money that is put out there, the relationships that are cultivated between them and advertisers and sponsors, then they certainly have a right to speak on the state of affairs in our society. They just need to know what they're talking about, and they need to be fair-minded when they do so.
Julie, I hear what he's saying, but all of us who have public platforms, is there anyone who gets a dispensation from knowing what
talking about? I don't know when. Why do they think that an athlete's going to know what they're talking about? I mean, I'm sorry, but and I'm not a huge sports lover, but honestly, even if I was, shut up and play ball. I mean, I don't want to hear what you think about politics. This is about as stupid as Dennis Rodman becoming besties, BFFs with freaking Kim Jong-un. Like, what the heck was he doing over there in the first place?
Right.
I just don't understand where politics and baseball baseball, basketball, football. Those are all sports, right?
Yeah, right.
Hockey.
Balls, too. They go-
Yeah, so just shut up and play ball.
Amen.
That's all I got to say.
Amen. All right. Well, you can watch the full interview with Stephen A. Smith on Life, Liberty, and Levin tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.